got a good heart. Don't ever lose it. No matter how the world tries to break you. Protect the family.
When Topside needed someone to arrest for the explosion that happened in Piltover, Vander made the decision to turn himself in to protect his children. Was it an overall good decision for the Undercity? Probably not. This is something that Grayson herself acknowledges. He was keeping the peace between Topside and the Undercity, and to take him out of the equation would leave war on the table. Now, clearly there was already tension between the two sides because the Undercity was not happy with their situation. For example, Saviko calling Vander weak, and why she eventually aligns with Silco because she believes he will bring about actual change. But I'll digress on that. So, why am I talking about Vander when this is a Vi character analysis video? And to answer that, how could I not talk about Vander when this is a Vi character analysis video? He shaped her into the Vi that we know throughout the show. And the reason that I bring up this particular moment is because I'm trying to point out that Vander made such a big decision with his heart. He did it to protect his family, which is a core character trait in Vi and her story as well. And some people might say, what character arc? She never had one. Well, that's why I'm here, because I really do think there's something there. But it's just way more subtle than every other character in the show. And while some may not consider it a character arc, Vi definitely has a story. Like, we have Caitlyn and Jinx who have these kind of inverse character arcs to each other, where Caitlyn has this descent into madness and revenge after her mother died, while Jinx is coming back from that descent and trying to redeem that part of her, or heal that part of her. I don't really know how I want to phrase this part of her arc yet, to be honest, but she was trying to do that through her protection of Isha, or like something along the lines of her final sacrifice to save Vi. And then we have Vi, who has a big heart.
Only held that 1 GD, big ass heart. I'm telling you, my friend, my girl's got a big ass heart.
And sure, we can go ahead and say it, but she never learns and continues to make stupid mistakes. But what's the one thing Vander told her when she was about to sacrifice herself? It was the first scene of this video for a reason. It really shaped Vi's perspective on what she needs to do. Not once in the show would Vi ever choose herself over protecting the people that she loves. It even gets to the point where the two people she loves the most in the world have to let her know that it's okay to choose the other person over them. And both of these situations happen in the same episode. In this video, I want to take a look through both seasons to understand Vi, where she was headed, and where she ended up. There are two pivotal moments in Season 1, Act 1, that are essential in understanding how Vi became who she is. The first one I already mentioned before. It's the conversation with Vander when she was going to turn herself in. The premise of this scene alone tells us a lot about Vi, that she's willing to do anything, even if it means being locked up, to protect the people she loves. In this case, I specifically mean Powder. Clearly, she gets this idea and mindset from Vander, who does the exact same thing when he finds out her plan. And I'm going to go on a little tangent here, but in episode 8 of season 2, Vi says that she always chooses wrong. And I feel like this is probably the beginning of why she feels that way. Not only did her plan get interrupted, but Vander got taken away, and we all know what happens after. Now, I'm not saying this is her fault or anything like that, but there's a possibility that in her head, if she didn't do that, then things might have turned out differently. Once again, not saying that this is the case. Silco had a plan, and he was going to go through with it one way or another. But knowing how Vi is and how her brain works, she most likely took some responsibility on herself for it. Either way, before Vander goes to turn himself in, he tells Vi, "You've got a good heart. Don't ever lose it, no matter how the world tries to break you. Protect the family." Now, imagine hearing this from your father figure that is about to take the blame for an action you and your siblings caused that you were also the leader of. World shaping, if you ask me. The next moment I want to talk about is the ending of Act 1, when Vi hits Powder. Now, this is not an action that I will ever condone, but this is about trying to understand. Here we have a kid who has just lost most of the people she loves in her life and is absolutely devastated by the events that just took place. When Powder comes out of the shadows and reveals that this was her doing, then Vi flips out. It's obvious to the audience that Powder has no idea what the repercussions of her creation was, but Vi is in a state of turmoil that has no space for reasoning or rational thinking. The only time she snaps out of it is when she sees the look in Powder's eyes after she hits her. The fear in them is what makes her senses freeze and gives her a second to realize that she needs to cool down, which is why she walks away. She never had any intention of leaving Powder, but she was in no state to think rationally at that moment. The second she sees Powder might be in danger, Vi tries to run back to her, but she's taken away by Marcus. This is something that Vi doesn't forgive herself for a long time. It's a life-altering moment that drives her for the next 2 acts of the season. She feels every decision in this situation is entirely her fault. She is the reason Vander got taken away. She is the reason Milo and Clagger died. She is the reason Vander died. She is the reason that Powder might be next. She was unable to protect the family. Everything falls on her. The first time we see Vi in the second act, she is locked up in prison. If we hadn't taken a guess from when Marcus took her at the end of Act 1, he threw a child in still water. Lovely. I can't really imagine what this environment does to a person, let alone a child, but the one thing that keeps Vi going is the thought of getting back to Powder. This idea that she could still be alive because she never actually saw what happened to her. Her hope is clear to see when Caitlyn shows Vi her evidence and Vi recognizes the drawings as something Powder used to do when they were kids. Caitlyn breaks Vi out of prison with the intention of having Vi help her with the case she is trying to crack, whereas Vi's main goal is to find information on her sister's whereabouts. She already has the evidence that she is still alive, but now she needs to pinpoint where she might be. When she's obtaining information at the brothel, one of her main questions is whether there has been any information regarding Powder. This leads her to Savika, which leads to one of my personal favorite fights in the series. It seems that Vi is about to win the battle, but Savika manages to land a blow that renders Vi stunned. And I don't mean when she stabbed her.
You mean Jinx? She works for him.
Savika tells Vi the truth, that Powder is now known as Jinx and works for Silco. And while looking absolutely taken aback and shocked by this idea, Savika lands a hefty blow to Vi's abdomen. And I actually want to take a closer look at when Savika was about to hit the final killing blow. Savika hits another verbal blow to Vi.
She's like his daughter.
And obviously Vi just took a gnarly hit to the stomach, but after this she truly looks defeated emotionally. It's one of the only times it seems like Vi gives up, and it's just at the thought of Powder working for Silco and being like his daughter. I don't know if it was the utter feeling of failure or that just kind of took over her. Granted, she also just got stabbed in the stomach and is currently bleeding out, so there might be something to that as well, but I do like reading too much into things. But moving on to when Caitlyn and Vi went deeper into the underground. Previously, I said that Vi takes full blame on what happened to Powder. When Vi and Caitlyn are in Vi's old house, Vi is having hallucinations of her family, including her mother and baby Powder. When Caitlyn says,
"I suppose Topside is to blame for all your misfortunes."
Vi replies,
Not all of them.
because in her head, she failed at the responsibility to protect Powder. Even Silco makes mention at the idea that Vi doesn't know her limits.
You don't know your limits, girl. It's what got Vander killed, and what drove your sister away. And it's why I'm here right now.
This idea really just keeps getting thrown back into her face. Going forward onto when Jinx and Vi finally meet up again for the first time since they were children. Jinx is in disbelief and Vi is relieved to see her sister again. Still calling her Powder and just glad to see that she is alive. The only intention Vi had was to be together with Powder. She didn't know where they would go from here, however, that wasn't really relevant since they had each other now. But everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. No, I'm kidding. But when Caitlyn interrupted the bubble burst and when the firelights came through, then things really went up in flames. The fight scene between the Firelights, Jinx, Vi, and Caitlyn is interesting because it really is the first time that Vi got to see Jinx in action. There are moments where Vi would look over in what seems to be disbelief because as much as Jinx had said that she changed, it's another to see what that meant, and in that revelation, she gets taken out by one of the Firelights and taken away to their hideout. When Echo calls Powder Jinx, Vi is quick to say that that is not her name because she still believes her version of her little sister is still there. And honestly, Vi's conversation with Echo is one of my favorites, especially when it comes to understanding her. Echo is still trying to convince Vi that Powder is no longer there and only Jinx remains. But Vi, in her wonderful and big heart, is convinced that that's not the case and she can reach Powder even after seeing Jinx in action. But there's a part of her that seems like it's starting to doubt after Echo shows Vi the wall of people that have been lost to either enforcers, but mostly Silco, and Powder's face is there staring at her. But you know what? Even after everything, when Vi has the option to go back up to Piltover with Echo and Caitlyn to take the gemstone back to the council, she decides to go back and look for Powder because she won't leave her again. No doubts put in her mind would have stopped her from going back until the explosions on the bridge happened. Caitlyn was injured, Vi saw Jinx at the heart of the commotion, and Echo was telling them to run while he held Jinx off. So Vi turns away again. And as she is looking back at Silco taking Jinx's lifeless body away, I feel like she's starting to acknowledge that Jinx really is like Silco's daughter. When Vi and Caitlyn talk to the council, Vi is the one to acknowledge that Jinx was the one creating weapons. However, throughout her conversations with Jace in regards to making a move in the underground, all of her focus is on Silco and the hold he has on everyone in the Undercity. It's possible that she believes if Silco is taken out, then maybe Powder can be reached once more. During their attack on the Shimmer Factory, a kid becomes collateral damage by Jace's hand. While Jace wants to back out, Vi wants to keep going. I think it's clear after their argument that Vi feels sorrowful about the situation and everything that happened with the kid, but it's also a sight she's used to seeing, and if that's the repercussions of taking Silco down and freeing Jinx, then so be it. There are two specific moments in episode 9 that I want to bring up. The first is Vi's rematch with Savika. While they're both going at each other pretty hard, there's a point where Vi is about to lose. Savika gets the upper hand, and guarding has never been Vi's strong suit, and she ends up laying on the ground pretty much defeated. But somewhere within her, she hears Vander, and he says to her,
What I can say is, she still needs you. They all do. So what do you say?
Not only is Vander continuously a guiding beacon for Vi, but truly through her toughest moments, just the idea of fighting for Powder and for her family is what gets her back up again. Now, if I'm being honest, I don't know who they all are in reference to what Vander says to Vi, but I feel like this is also kind of representative of how Vi takes everything on her shoulders and everything is on her. I feel like that really emphasizes that idea within her and how she really feels, because Vander in this point is more so Vi talking to herself in a sense, kind of similar how Silco was talking to Jinx in season 2 in episode 8, and she manages to beat Savika pretty handily after that. Even after the whole fight is said and done, her anger is completely directed at Silco, but Jinx had other plans, which leads me to the second scene I want to talk about. When the final quote-unquote showdown happens in episode 9, Vi is still doing all that she can to appeal to Powder, but Jinx is at such an unstable point that she's at a true crossroads of who she believes she is. She even throws the idea that everything that happened all those years ago was Vi's fault, right back in her face.
But he didn't make Jinx. You did.
And we all know Vi feels that way given past conversations in the show, but Jinx gives Vi a choice. You shoot Caitlyn, I will be Powder for you again. To which Vi refuses, and to Jinx, that might as well be another betrayal. After everything is said and done, Jinx makes a decision on who she is. All that's left is for her to take her final action and send the rocket to the council room. Now, I've been very limited on how much I've talked about Caitlyn Kierman, but that's mainly because I knew I was going to need a whole section dedicated to her. And I really want to talk about her development with Vi throughout season 1 and why they have such strong feelings for each other by the end. I am going to go through a lot of the scenes I've talked about before, but this time looking more closely at what the scenes meant for Caitlyn and Vi. So of course we have to start with the prison scene again. Vi had no intention of trusting Caitlyn at all, but when she shows her Powder's drawings, she becomes interested. They both have something the other needs. Vi has knowledge of the Undercity, and Caitlyn has a lead as to where Powder might be. However, we can see this clear disdain that Vi has for Caitlyn because she is an enforcer. She has no reason to like them at all, and Caitlyn is just a representation of them to her at this moment. But when Caitlyn takes a literal and metaphorical step across the line to show Vi her findings, it's a step for both of them in learning to work with each other. I'm not going to say trust yet, because they are still pretty far from that. This can be evidenced when Caitlyn tries to help Vi after she had been stabbed by Savika. Vi doesn't let Caitlyn help her down further into the underground, and instead decides to do this. Nor does she let Caitlyn clean up her wounds a little bit, and she shoves her hand away from her face. She's making little comments about topsiders throughout their time here. Caitlyn says that this is only going to work if they trust each other. But Vi is very stuck in her ways, and understandably so. Before she passes out, she hears Caitlyn say,
Despite it all, I can tell. You have a good heart.
which is reminiscent of when Vander told her the same thing. Something that's interesting about Caitlyn and Vi's relationship is that Vi is normally the protector, but after Vi got stabbed, Caitlyn is the one that saves her, and Caitlyn is the one who gives up her gun to find a way to heal Vi. Caitlyn is taking these steps forward to try and prove to Vi that they can work together and trust each other, not to mention that there's an obvious attraction from both of them too. The only problem is that she hasn't been telling Vi the whole truth as to why she's down there, and Vi hasn't been telling Caitlyn the whole truth either, which is why the lead up to finding Jinx turns into a disaster. But I do believe that them being in the underground was the beginning of their bond being cemented. They still have some ways to go, but proximity and circumstance can lead to development of a relationship pretty quickly. Keeping with the theme of protection and trust, the first thing that Caitlyn does when the Firelights come talk to her is sacrifice herself so Vi can be released. And on the other hand, Vi tells Echo that Caitlyn is someone who can be trusted. This is already showing developments in their relationship with just these few actions. Even when Echo and Caitlyn are getting into an argument, Vi defends Caitlyn.
Echo, she believes what she's saying, okay? She's not your enemy.
Not because she agrees with her, but because she has an understanding now of why Caitlyn might think the way that she does. And after spending some time with Vi, Caitlyn has a better idea of how horrible the situation in the Undercity actually is.
This is our best shot at setting the record straight. This city needs healing. More than I ever realized.
Vi sees that understanding and appreciates the kind of heart that Caitlyn has. And when Vi decides to stay back when they're about to cross over to Piltover, and they both are looking at each other with longing in their eyes, it makes sense. There's a connection that they have established with each other throughout their time in the Undercity. A connection not only built out of proximity and circumstance, but through trust and understanding in the past episode. And let's not forget that Vi is still a protector, so when she hears the sound of a gunshot ring out, her instinct is to run back immediately. And when all the butterflies are set off and all the explosions are said and done, she is there to help Caitlyn get away. And I know she wanted to help Echo too, but he was telling them to run and she respected that given the current situation. Which leads them to the Kierman residence, where Caitlyn and Vi share another bonding moment. Caitlyn knows that Vi blames herself for creating Jinx, and she tries to reassure her that that's not the case. And Vi opens up about her childhood with Powder and how she would always try to protect her. But the one time that it mattered most, she just wasn't there. And I really like how it's continuously shown that Caitlyn tries to be a comforting and protective presence for Vi. In previous cases, she was quite literally protecting her from Savika or trying to heal her from her injuries, while here it's a much more emotional comfort she is providing. Caitlyn puts her hand on Vi's cheek and Vi takes her hand to hold. The image of Caitlyn laying across from her and looking her in the eyes is one that Vi goes back to later. And I feel that this was the real moment where she felt she was falling. But good things can't last, and it's time for Vi and Caitlyn to present their case to the council. And while Vi and Caitlyn have come to a better understanding of each other, it's clear that there's a lot more miscalculation when it comes to the overarching Piltover and Zahn relations, which leads to a lot of frustration on Vi's part. It feels like the council is just twiddling their thumbs and won't try to do anything to help the cause. She storms out of the council room and Caitlyn follows after her, trying to convince her that there has to be another way to convince them, and it's not over yet. But Vi doesn't have any patience left in her. She has felt this imbalance her entire life, and this shows her that nothing is going to change. And there will never be a means to change. It also proves to Vi that her relationship with Caitlyn will never work either. She feels they are from two separate worlds that were never meant to collide. Oil and water. Just not meant to be. Until Jinx takes it into her own hands to kidnap both Caitlyn and Vi and have a little family dinner together. Jinx is telling Vi that if she takes out Caitlyn, then they can go back to how they were. But of course, Vi would never do that. Now Vi has two people she loves with guns aimed at one another, and she is trying to appeal to both of them that there is a better outcome here, but at the end of it all, it leaves everyone broken. Now, once again, I'm not saying this is Vi's fault, but I feel that she takes it upon herself that she was the cause of this because of what she couldn't do for Jinx and the end result of what happened to the council. More specifically, Caitlyn's mom. The first time we see Vi and Caitlyn in Season 2 is Caitlyn mourning the death of her mother, and Vi looking and watching over her throughout the scene. There's really not much Vi can do for her at this point except be there for her. And I know she feels guilty over the situation because her first solution is to have Jace fix the gauntlets so she can take out Jinx. She firmly believes that Powder is gone after the events of the Season 1 finale and now wants to take responsibility for ending it. But Caitlyn has other ideas in asking her to be an enforcer, which Vi obviously denies. But things change when she hears about how Caitlyn talked about her to get her the badge and after the attack at the memorial. So let's talk a little bit more about Vi becoming an enforcer. While not my favorite thing that Vi has ever done, I do want to try and understand why she did it. And honestly, I think it boils down to two reasons. One, being the one to confront and take down Jinx. In the scene Vi and Jinx have their showdown, Vi says that she is done blaming herself for Jinx's actions, that her little sister is gone, and she won't have Powder's memory stained anymore. Now, I can take this as Vi feels the need to protect what's left of her sister's memory, and therefore she needs to want to stop Jinx, which does make sense. And also, given their last conversation in episode 9, it lines up with the idea that Vi could never accept Jinx as her sister. These sisters are both unrecognizable to each other here, and it doesn't look like they'll have any kind of understanding. The second reason is protecting Caitlyn. This one is a little easier to understand, but after hearing Caitlyn say this,
I was wrong to spring the badge on you. It's just every way I slice it. If I go after your sister alone? One of us comes back in a box.
I can imagine this protective instinct in Vi took over, and considering their relationship is in this not quite girlfriend, but definitely not just a friend situation, it's very clear that Vi's feelings are very strong for Caitlyn, and as I've said before, Vi will go to the ends of the earth to protect the people she loves. There's a reason the climax of Heavy as the Crown plays when we see Vi walk onto the scene. She doesn't make this decision lightly, but she feels she needs to take responsibility. However, by the end of episode 3, Vi has lost it all. Jinx and Vi feel unreachable to each other, and Caitlyn is on a path of revenge that she has no intention of going back on, it seems. By the time we see her next, we get Pit Fighter Vi, in probably one of my favorite songs and montages of the season. One of Vi's greatest strengths is that she doesn't give up and she keeps on fighting on. So why did she give up and become this hollow version of herself? Well, at this point she had nothing to fight for, so she had nothing to fear for. And nothing to hope for. It's like Powder said in season 2, episode 7.
Vi was strong because she was afraid. Well, her fear of losing us is what made her fight so hard.
But Jinx comes back into her life once more with information that she can't ignore. A couple of my favorite Jinx and Vi moments come around in episode 5. There's this one where Vi and Jinx are arguing and fighting with each other, and it plays out like a sibling feud.
Last chance to surrender! Go right ahead, fat hands!
It's oddly very heartwarming. Then there's this scene where Jinx reads out Vander's letter to Silco. There's a parallel between Vander's and Silco's story and the feud that can be seen with Jinx and Vi. Vi puts out her hand to touch Jinx's shoulder to what I assume is to comfort her, but she feels like she's not allowed to do that anymore. It's such a small moment, but it still shows that Vi cares a lot for her even when they are not on good terms. Wow. Not on good terms feels like a huge understatement when this is the last time they saw each other. The last moment is the one where Vi makes the decision to trust Jinx and calls out to Vander, and the family is reunited. Seeing Vander, Jinx, and Vi have a hug after everything they've been through, it's very heartwarming and very heart-wrenching at the same time. Just the look on Jinx's face after Vi says, "He's your dad too," is enough to bring tears to my eyes whenever I think about it. Like, I don't know how many times I can say these sisters love each other so much, but they just haven't been able to have proper communication. Remember that family is one of, if not the strongest motivator for Vi, and now that she has Vander and Jinx back in her life, she's gonna do what she can to help them. So they go to the Utopia run by the Machine Herald to ask for help, which Victor is more than willing to offer up for Vander. Amongst all of this happening, there are inklings of Vi continuously reaching out to Jinx. I mean, first of all, she literally reached out to her and hugged her with Warwick in the previous episode, but now she's also asking for Jinx's opinion on if they should restrain Warwick at night, and then she makes a comment about how they could stay where they are and help out with this utopia. I mean, this "we" that Jinx says sounds like she was completely shocked and touched at the prospect of being a family once more. And then Caitlyn and Vi meet up once again. That sounds like it was a nice encounter, but no. Caitlyn kind of just bodies Vi and throws her to the ground, but the connection they have is still there even after they try and throw their little jabs at each other. Caitlyn was already not fully on board with being Embess's little servant, and all she needed was a little push for her to change sides. And she has already been in the situation where she meets up with Vi, who is trying to save a family member, and look where they ended up when that tore them apart. Not to say that ending was her motivator for teaming up with Vi, but she knows Vi's heart, and if this chem weapon and Vi's dad are the same being, then she wants to believe in Vi first. So they decide to trust each other. In Vi's case, she only trusts Caitlyn to a certain degree, but there is warranted apprehension there. And we finally, truly have the family together again. Oh no. Alright, so I mentioned this before, but in the AU episode, Powder mentions Vi's reason for being brave and fighting so hard. And also, there is so much respect from Echo when he talks about Vi too. Like, all of the characters that know Vi understands that she loves so hard and that she will do what it takes to protect those she cares for. He made this mural out of admiration and care, and it really speaks to the relationship between Vi and Echo too.
You're never gonna give up on me, are you?
Now, I know I've said this before, but Vi loves Jinx so much. She even calls her by that name and not Powder anymore, which goes to show that she accepts her for who she is now and is not holding on to her little sister of the past. All she wants is to be with her sister and have everything be okay, so she snags the keys to Jinx's prison cell and offers up the idea that Jinx's skills can be used for good, and once Jinx says sure, she opens the door and gives her the biggest embrace possible. But Jinx has already gone through her own inner questioning, and she has come to her decision to quote-unquote break the cycle. So Jinx tricks Vi and locks her in the jail cell and tells her she can stop feeling guilty for choosing to be with Caitlyn and that she can be happy now. Now imagine once again that you have made a decision and it completely backfires on you. For Vi, this must be like a tipping point. She feels like she can do nothing right, every decision she makes is the wrong one, and she doesn't know what to do because she keeps losing everyone. She went behind Caitlyn's back to free Jinx, and Jinx left her in a jail cell to do who knows what. But when Caitlyn says,
"You really think I needed all the guards at the Hex Gates?"
there's a moment of recognition that Caitlyn knew there was a possibility that Vi would make this choice, and she was okay with that because if that's what Vi wanted, then so be it. Both of the people that Vi loves the most in her life are telling her that it is okay to choose herself and what she wants to do. Vi has not once allowed herself to make a choice that could be considered selfish. Everything that she does is for the sake of the people she cares about. So to have the two people she loves the most in the world tell her pretty much the same thing, granted in two very different ways, I think something finally gets through to her just a little bit. But we still have to remember that this is a character with a lot of trauma that has not been dealt with. So where does that leave us? Their final showdown is with Ascended Warwick, and well, it wasn't going smoothly, but after everything that happened with the Hex Core, it seemed like there was nothing to worry about. But once again, we need to remember that Vi has a lot of trauma that she has never truly dealt with. So when Warwick is lying motionless in front of her, she just remembers the moment she lost Vander. She has never escaped that scene in her life, and now it's right in front of her again, haunting her. But Warwick was not completely down, and he's about to kill Vi until Jinx makes the ultimate sacrifice. This was absolutely devastating to me personally, so I truly cannot imagine how Vi felt. Just that scream she let out when the explosion went off was so guttural, and you can feel the pain coming from her soul. But once again, I ask the question, where does that leave us? Or well, Vi. She has lost her family in Vander and Jinx once more. However, I think the biggest difference this time around is Caitlyn Kierman herself. Even by the end, I don't think Vi is fully recovered and in a great place, but at least she has a foundation with Caitlyn that she can now build upon. It's interesting because it's heartbreaking that these two sisters can't live a happy life together. Jinx made the decision to break the cycle, and if that meant leaving Vi was the best for both of them, then so be it. I think Jinx was fully aware that Vi would never let her go. Vi believes in Jinx so much and would do anything to protect her, so Jinx didn't give her the option this time. Which not giving Vi the agency is messed up, but I really don't think Vi would have made any decision differently if she wasn't forced to at this point in her life. Which on one hand left a hole in Vi's heart, but on the other hand gave her the opportunity to choose differently and build a life with Caitlyn and actually be able to start healing. I feel like Vi's story is one that shows us how trauma doesn't let us move forward. Throughout the entire show, Vi is making decisions on what she feels like she has to do to either right her wrongs or protect the people she was unable to protect before. But by the end of it, she's only starting to come to terms with the idea that she is able to choose for herself. I think her story ends with the beginning of that process. I do think Vi was the heart for a lot of the show, especially season 1, and I think her storyline was there if you were willing to look hard enough. But that's not to say that I agree with every single writing choice that was made. For example, as much as I love the music montages, I am a little sad that some of the story was condensed in only these scenes. Like, all we really got from the Pit Fighter Vi arc was the cocktail Molotov scene. It would have been so cool to see some kind of friendship and conversation develop between Loris and Vi, two people that parted ways from Caitlyn. I firmly believe that Arcane could have used either a third season or at the very least another act, because we just needed more time with some of these characters, especially if they were going to be adding in other storylines. There were definitely a lot of moments in season 2 that needed to feel earned, and unfortunately they didn't. But I do like trying to look at the positive sides of things, and I don't believe that Vi had no story at all. And just like a lot of the other characters in Arcane, her struggles were very human.